Hi everyone, I'm Britt Fallon. I'm the beauty director at New Beauty. I hope everyone had a great weekend. We are about to go live with board certified dermatologist Dr. Linda Honet. She is going to be talking with us about all things acne today, which is a topic that we get asked about a lot. It's also something that people tend to be confused about. There are a lot of products that help with acne and claim to solve your acne problems, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. So she is here now. We're going to go ahead and get her in. So Dr. Honet, for those of you who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in your practice and where you're located so we can learn more?
Well, I'm a board certified dermatologist in Michigan in Bloomfield Hills, which is a suburb of Detroit. And I'm located very centrally, so we pull from all different directions, which is really nice because we see all sectors of the Detroit population. I've been a dermatologist for over 25 years. It's a long, long time.
Wow.
Quarter of a century, if you want to think of it that way. And I went into dermatology serendipitously. I was an internist. I trained in internal medicine. And my department, instead of giving me the cardiology elective, which I was going to be a cardiologist like my father, but it turned out they didn't have room for me. So they gave me dermatology instead. And I was highly disappointed because I was all set to be a cardiologist. But then I loved it. I really loved it. It combined everything that I loved about medicine. It was procedural. It pulled from all sectors. I could take care of children. I love children. As my staff know, I love babies. They're very distracting to me. I love to hold them. But in this day and age, we can't hold anybody. And we can see really elderly people too. So we see all ages in between, and I love that. And I also love the fact that I can use my hands. I went to Yale University for my undergrad education, and I almost became an architect. So
Wow.
creating with my hands and drawing and all that creativity and the artistic endeavors, they're really in my wheelhouse. So that's how I started in dermatology. But I own my own practice in Bloomfield Hills. It combines medical dermatology and it combines cosmetic dermatology. I love the mixture. I'm never bored any day or every day. And like I said, I see all kinds of people in the office. And our practice, we have a small practice. I was originally a solo practitioner, but I did add one dermatologist 1 to 2 days a week. So we're going to try to make a go of it again with this COVID crisis. And in fact, we're doing a soft opening again for live patients tomorrow. So this is this live Instagram is rather symbolic for live patients too.
Yeah. You mentioned COVID. So you're going to be seeing patients, and were you doing telehealth while we were
Yes.
closed? Okay.
Necessarily, we had to turn to telederm or
Yeah.
telemedicine using that platform. And the president of the United States allowed FaceTime and Skype to be used as a HIPAA compliant telemedicine platform. So we did do that. The interest was there. I also was seeing live patients occasionally for urgent issues.
Okay.
And believe it or not, a lot of the public don't think that dermatology has any urgent issues, but actually we do. We see a lot of emergency cases.
Wow.
We're sort of quiet about it because, we're a consultant more than the primary,
Right.
frontline physician, but we do a lot of consultative services. And I did have to see a few patients live to help take care of them so they could avoid going to urgent care emergency rooms.
Okay. Wow, that's great. So, yeah, you said the interest was fair. I mean, I think I've been hearing mixed things. It's people have been liking to having their privacy and having to express their concerns from the comfort of their own home, whereas sometimes the doctor's office can be a little intimidating. But also, for things like skin, you really, as a doctor, you need to use your tools to get in there and see them. So being in person is critical, I would think, to what you do.
Well, it's funny because you would think people would be more private on telemedicine, and they are in the privacy of their own home. But oddly enough, they reveal a lot of things about in their homes. I got a glimpse of a lot of ceiling fans and carpets, and I realized age had nothing to do with being techie or not. You know, we have 3-year-olds who did not know how to use their the camera phone at all, and then the phone on the camera on the phone, I mean. And other 88-year-olds who are very savvy. So,
wow.
But you know what's interesting? A lot of the public think that dermatology is just a visual field, and it's not. It's a specialty where we really look at the skin in 3D, and it's not only about seeing it, but touching it, looking at it closely, and we also use tools like the dermatoscope to really magnify, let's say, a pigmented lesion or a mole. So, and a lot of it has to do with interaction with the patient face to face. And a lot of my patients I've been seeing for a long, long time, even decades. And I have a very special relationship with them. Yeah. So to not have that connection in person is difficult sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're getting back into somewhat of a normal routine. I wish you luck with that. And, you know, I'm glad that we can connect this way in the meantime. So, so today we're talking acne. This is something that I have to say, you know, I've been doing a lot of Instagram lives and I've been watching a lot of lives. And one of the comments I see most often, no matter what the conversation is about, is acne. It seems like people are really turning to Reddit and blogs and experts and trying to find information on this. And I know that you're so well versed in this topic. So I'd love to get started by hearing a little bit about where acne comes from. How much of it is hereditary versus maybe what we eat, our diet, stress?
Well, acne is, as everyone knows, probably the most common skin condition we treat. It is common, and yet lately, because of many different lifestyle changes and dietary changes, and people have strange eating regimens and supplements, acne has become more and more challenging as time goes on. And then on top of everything, especially during this COVID pandemic and crisis, wearing facial masks, and we're not talking about the beautiful facial treatment masks that we're used to. We're talking about the cloth surgical mask that everyone is donning lately. And that has caused a whole host of other skin conditions, including flaring acne and flaring rosacea, and a lot of skin conditions that are focused on the face. But acne is challenging because it is multifactorial. So primarily it is genetic, but secondarily it is based on hormones. And certain lifestyle changes or habits or quirks can affect acne quite a bit and flare it up. And additionally, your emotional state, like stress, can also cause acne to flare as well.
Is it typically if you have like one parent that had really bad acne, does your chance go up? Or if you had like, you know how what they say with thinning hair, like your like men typically get their mother's father's hair. So is that the same with skin? Like, does it come from a particular person?
Well, let's just dispel that myth about hair. Pattern baldness can come from both sides. I think that's just an old wives' tale that a man inherits it from his mother's father or something, or her male relatives. It can come on either side, and for men and women alike. So that's one thing. But we're not talking about male pattern or female pattern baldness. That's a whole host of other issues, and that would take probably a whole day to talk about if possible, although it's not as fascinating as acne. So acne, yes, is very genetic. It does, it may not be that your parents even had acne terribly as a young person. It may be that your Uncle Joe or your Grandpa Sam had acne and you were the unlucky one to get it or to be prone to it. The opposite is true too. So mom and dad may have had really bad bouts with acne, but then you are the lucky one and your siblings probably hate you because they all suffer and you don't. So it's very unpredictable. We don't know what all the factors are that play in with the genetics for acne, but it definitely has a huge part in terms of especially resistant acne or cystic acne.
I think it's important to note too for everyone listening that right now it's not just teenagers. It hasn't been teenagers for a long time, but right now we're really hearing and we're seeing the stats go up on hormonal acne and adult acne. I think people are talking about it more so than ever. And so we are going to get to that later in the conversation, but that's a big piece of the puzzle right now. Is that something that you're seeing too? Is a lot of older women coming in and older men?
Well, let's not forget that not only is it genetic, but it is hormonally based too. So whenever you disrupt that hormonal balance, that's when acne can flare. So I always talk, especially women. So women notably don't have the same skin, day one or day two or even day 365. And women are always battling their skin. And that's because hormonally we're always changing. So if you're menstruating every month, your skin is different.
Right.
During the cycle, it's different. Puberty, it's different. Teenage years, young adulthood, when you have a baby, when you don't have a baby, premenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal. So it runs the gamut. Acne just afflicts probably all sectors and times of your life. So it gets very challenging because you have to sort of weed out what is affecting the acne the most and flaring it. And sometimes it's very difficult to do. So sometimes we're trying every conventional type of therapy under the sun, including prescriptions, and nothing seems to be really getting rid of it 100%. And that's when we do turn to Accutane and isotretinoin.
Okay. So I want to start with, I want to learn a little bit more about like the types of acne. And one thing that you see, a lot is the word pustule, and papule. And I'm wondering, what is the difference between the two?
Well, I just want to clear it up. Dermatologists use both terms as a descriptor of physical exam. It's not specific to acne.
Okay.
A papule is a bump, just a little bump, usually defined as less than 5 millimeters, 5 millimeters or less. Then if it's bigger than 5 millimeters, then it's other terms, so I won't confuse people. But papule can be a brown papule, a pink papule, a red papule, a yellow papule, a blistery papule. It can be all kinds of different papules. It could be pink, red, purple. A pustule, however, is a papule. It can be a papule, but it's filled with fluid or necessarily pus, basically. So it's filled with immune cells and immune reaction and serum within the papule. So that's a pustule. And in acne, we have papules and pustules, but we also have cysts and we have nodules. So we have all kinds of different representation of descriptors in acne.
Okay. And how long before a pimple becomes a whitehead? How long is it under there brewing? Because a lot of times someone will use a skincare product and then the next day they wake up with, a big zit and they're like, oh man, that must have been from that cream I used last night.
The white papule is the hallmark lesion, the starting lesion. We call it in dermatology a comedone. So you hear different labels that say non-comedogenic, and that just means that it doesn't cause the little bumps of acne, the precursors of the acne papule or the pustule. So the comedone starts in the sebaceous glands where the hair follicle is, where the pore is, and that's where the oil gland secretes its oil to moisturize naturally, to moisturize your skin naturally. And when that gets plugged with bacteria, dead skin cells, and oil, that's when you get the comedone. Now, the comedone can be a closed comedone, which is covered with skin on the surface, or it can be an open comedone, or what we call a blackhead, which is actually open to the surface, sort of like a mini crater. And that's because the oils and the dead skin cells oxidize with contact to the air, and it turns black.
So how come, like, I'm just going to use myself for an example, but how come you have blackheads in an area and no matter what you do, they never go away?
Well, I think a lot of people confuse blackheads with just large pores.
Okay.
So we have larger pores in the T-zone area. And usually mostly on the nose, and that's what people concentrate on is their nose, because that's where the pores are the largest and where you have the most oil glands that secrete a lot of oil. So that's why people say, oh my gosh, I have so many blackheads on my nose, and maybe a few are, or maybe they're a little clogged, but they're not frank blackheads. They're basically pores, oil glands, hair follicles that have been a little plugged or a little overzealous in their oil production, what we call sebaceous glands, and they just look more prominent. But then when you look at the rest of your face, not in the T-zone area, but the rest of your face, the pores are smaller, and those areas tend to be drier. However, during, I guess, specific hormonal cycles in your life, like puberty, they can be more dominant when they're secreting more oil.
So if I like squeeze a blackhead and something comes out, that's and then it's there the next day again.
Well, it's very gratifying when you're squeezing things out. I know that. I mean, I always tell patients to do what I say and not do what I do, but I squeeze it out. But I have tools. I have special tools.
Right.
So, the reason being is that when you look at a comedone or a whitehead or blackhead, that hole at the top is the smallest part of the rest of the acne lesion.
Okay.
And when you squeeze, most of it's going to take the path of least resistance and go out like this. So what happens is you're pushing down all that inflammation, dead skin cells, oil, bacteria into your skin. And then that actually inflames more, causes more of an immune reaction, and then you get a big fat acne bump. Now, if you made a little hole, which I do in the office, you know, I extract pores or blackheads or whiteheads all the time, or even milia. Milia are like mini cysts. And if I make a little hole, the hole gets bigger, and then boom, I can use a tool and put pressure on the sides to push it up. And that's why tools are essential, like even building a house or making a bench. Tools are the most important part. If you don't have the right tools, girls, you're not going to get a good result with squeezing your blackheads and your whiteheads and your pimples.
So that's why you should really leave it to a professional.
You should really leave it to a professional. Now, even in the best of hands, sometimes that whitehead or blackhead is going to inflame. And even with using alcohol and cleaning it and prepping it and making an extra big hole, you could really still have a result where it's not the best. And then that's when we also inject it with a little steroid, what we call intralesional acne injection. And I do that all the time in the office too, and people love that. Oh my gosh. You get it done, and within a few hours your bump may be half the size. So it's really great for a prom or an event or a red carpet event. A lot of patients will come in as soon as they find a bump, and they'll literally walk in, get it injected, I inject it, and boom, they're out again.
Wow. So what you mentioned, cysts and nodules. What's the difference between those two?
Well, a cyst, by definition, is a bump that has a sac around it, like a balloon.
Okay.
So some acne cysts are cysts, and some acne cysts are not really cysts. They're pseudocysts, so to speak. Nodules are just a description of a big bump. So a nodule is like a grown-up version of a papule. A papule is 5 millimeters or less. A nodule can be larger than that.
Okay. Because when I was little, not little, like teenager, I would get these bumps, and then my mom would call them blind bumps. And they were like, they hurt to the touch, but they like never turned into a whitehead, and I would push them, and it was like a very, weird, like you kept wanting to touch it, which was probably terrible. Is that a nodule then? Or
well, when you look at the cross-section of skin, the pilosebaceous unit, which is really the oil gland, sebaceous gland with the hair follicle and the pore at the top where the hair is coming out. And sometimes the hair is so tiny and you only see the pore. That's the big cyst, or what did you call it? An invisible.
My mom called them blind bumps.
Oh, blind bumps. Okay. I've never heard that term. Your mom's very creative. A blind bump, basically, the inflammation starts deeper in the skin at the bottom of the pilosebaceous unit. And the orifice at the top, or the hole, doesn't really have anywhere to escape, so it just gets bigger and more inflamed under the skin. And they are very painful because there's inflammation there. And the inflammation is trapped. It's necessarily trapped in your skin with no exit available, so it just stays there. And those are the ones that can cause scarring quite a bit. Especially, it can recur and recur and recur because the inflammation never goes away completely. And then what happens is, as the body tries to heal it, it scars down. And then when it heals completely, it may take several months sometimes. It may cause a pit with, in scarring. It can cause what we call boxcar, rolling scars. It can cause all kinds of things that cause scarring. So
what is your best approach to treating a whitehead? Because I'm just going to come out and say it. I can't leave a whitehead on my face. It has to go away. And I will say, those little zit stickers are fabulous. I'm finding, I don't know if anyone watching has tried one of those, but I find that if I have a whitehead and I put one of those little translucent stickers over it, I will not pick it, and the next morning it's gone.
So a lot of those zit stickers have salicylic acid in them.
Okay.
And salicylic acid is a great over-the-counter medication for acne. And the reason why it works, it loosens up the oil and the connections of those dead cells. It breaks those bonds between the cells and therefore releases them, and then it sloughs out or sloughs off. It's a great exfoliator, it does it that way, so that when you do put one of those zit stickers on, or pimple stickers, that's what it's doing. It's loosening up that clog, and
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of declogging the drain, and it
Yeah.
allows it to escape, and then for the skin to heal.
I used one last night and I woke up and it is the most satisfying thing to look at the center of the sticker.
That's
And
right.
there's actually like white on it.
So
And
what's happening is that
so
sticky,
cool.
it says salicylic acid in it, but it also has a sticky end, right, the
Mm-hmm.
adhesive. And the adhesive is attaching to that spot that got loosened by the salicylic acid, pulls it up. And that's how those blackhead, they used to have like nose strips, same
Yeah.
concept, but probably a lower percentage of salicylic acid. And then the only thing is, if you are too aggressive at pulling off those strips, you could pull off your skin too. So I caution people from just do it very gently. Remember to treat your skin gently.
Yeah.
It loves you and you want to love it too.
Yeah. So you brought up salicylic acid, and that's a great segue to my next question, which is the difference between sal acid and benzoyl peroxide.
So they are very different, and yet they have some similar characteristics. Both exfoliate a little bit, so they do allow for that cell turnover, so those dead cells that are packed in there. And that may be the core of why acne doesn't respond as well, as that packed dead skin layer. For some reason, the maturation process of the skin layers isn't working correctly, and we haven't elucidated it genetically, so we don't know how or why. But benzoyl peroxide and salicylic acid can do both that also. But what benzoyl peroxide does, it with the peroxide reaction, or the oxygenation process, it can actually kill bacteria. So not only is exfoliating and decreasing sebaceous gland activity or oil gland production, but it also is killing bacteria. Salicylic acid does not kill bacteria. It's more anti-inflammatory. And like I said, it disrupts the stickiness between the cells. So it disrupts the bonds between the cells, so you can exfoliate. But the benzoyl peroxide is actually antibacterial, and it is not an antibiotic. So we don't think that the bacteria that is implicated in acne, it can ever be resistant to it. So we like using benzoyl peroxide in combination with other medications.
So what about the difference between a spot treatment versus an all over the face treatment? Is benzoyl peroxide better for one versus the other?
What's nice about benzoyl peroxide, you can use it for both. So for maintenance and preventative maintenance, and you can also use it for spot treatment, because benzoyl peroxide will not only spot kill the bacteria, but it will dry up that lesion as well. And it'll decrease the oil gland production focally. But if you use it all over the face, definitely you can use it as preventative maintenance as well. And it's a nice adjunct to other medications by prescription too.
Okay. And then what about, oily skin? Because I know I actually have a colleague whose dermatologist told her to only use benzoyl peroxide and not sal acid. So is that because does benzoyl peroxide work better on oily skin?
I think it does, although salicylic acid dries the skin too.
Okay.
So benzoyl peroxide, though, is more potent. And in the percentages that are available over the counter, and there are different percentages, anywhere between 1% all the way to 10%, it's very effective in controlling oil. Salicylic acid can control oil as well, but it's more exfoliation, disruption of the cell adhesion. So it works a little bit differently, but it can cause dryness too. People use it for dryness as well.
Okay. And I know that benzoyl peroxide can actually stain your clothes, right? Is that something that people should be aware of? Because I've had it stain some washcloths.
It does. So remember, it's the same active ingredient in bleaching hair. So it doesn't stain, it actually destains.
That's what I mean.
It bleaches clothing, and it can bleach sheets and bed linens, and it can bleach your hair too. It can actually turn dark hair orange. So relating to that, yes, that's the one bad thing about benzoyl peroxide. And for sensitive skin individuals, many cannot tolerate the dryness from benzoyl peroxide. So sometimes we just avoid it anyway. And a lot of parents of teenagers don't really love the benzoyl peroxide. But there are sheets out there that are benzoyl peroxide resistant. Actually, I saw it at Target. They do have peroxide resistant sheets. Yeah. So
people think of everything.
There's a market for everything.
Yeah. Someone's actually asking a question. What about dry skin that is breaking out?
So that's very challenging. Dry skin that breaks out will be very sensitive to salicylic acid and benzoyl peroxide. So sometimes we have to start the regimen or the prescription. We usually resort to prescriptions very, very slowly and gingerly. So we'll ease into it so the skin can accommodate or acclimate to the medications. And it is a little bit of a delayed gratification more than usual for an acne patient. But if you start slowly, even a sensitive skin patient can tolerate many of the prescription medications and even the over-the-counter ones.
Now, could your skin be breaking out because it's too dry?
Well, yes, in a way, because remember the skin is your largest organ and it's always reaching homeostasis. That's its goal, is to always reach a balance. And if you have dry skin to begin with, it's trying to pump out oil to reach that homeostasis, that ultimate moisturization state.
Yeah.
If you dry the skin constantly by stripping and washing and scrubbing and salicylic acid and benzoyl peroxide, and various over-the-counter acne medications, and most acne medications have salicylic acid in them, so that's why they're called anti-acne, can cause a lot of dryness. So as a result, you're sort of creating a vicious cycle or a chain reaction. So even acne patients should be using a moisturizer to balance the skin out. And I often tell patients, if after you wash your face and it feels dry or tight, then moisturize and then wait a little bit so that your skin can reach this balance, and then apply your medications after that in layers. I think patience among patients is a very important thing, and it's hard to reiterate that. And I think patient education is very important in this part.
You mentioned percentages. So is there, for somebody who just has, very mild acne, maybe we'll just call it a breakout, what percentage of benzoyl peroxide or sal acid should they be looking for versus somebody who has all over acne?
So the salicylic acid percentages range broadly, anywhere between 0.5 to 1% up to 2.55%. And the benzoyl peroxide, the same thing. It ranges anywhere between 0.5 to 10%. So someone with dry skin could try something over the counter, but really go for the low percentage. And all you have to do is flip the bottle to the back and see what the active ingredient is and what the percentage is. The other thing is always moisturize. And the other thing is don't strip your skin. Just because you have acne, you should really treat your skin with a gentle cleanser. Don't scrub, don't puff, don't exfoliate overly aggressively, because the skin will try to adjust, and by adjusting it'll make more oil and it'll try to heal the skin in that way. So just treating your face gently and doing things in a minimal fashion but moisturizing at the same time are very important.
So speaking of cleansers, I know there's a lot of debate about foam cleansers. A lot of people hate foam cleansers, but a lot of foam cleansers...
They hate foam cleansers?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
A lot of estheticians I've interviewed and some dermatologists will say they just don't like the foam cleansers, that they strip the skin barrier. So, but a lot of foam cleansers are designed for acne. So what are your thoughts on that? On the best cleanser?
The foaming or detergent action, just like washing your dishes, does strip the skin of its natural oils to some extent. Now, water temperature has a lot to do with it too. So I always tell my patients, how do you wash a greasy casserole dish? I don't know, a lot of people are doing more dishes lately, so I think they can relate better. Teenagers don't really relate with what I'm talking about. They're like, huh? But if you use hot water, right? And you often use a very foamy, dishwashing liquid. So the same thing goes for your face. So even the shower, whether you're cleansing at sink side, you should use a gentle cleanser, whether it's foaming or not. I don't really care either way. I think there are a lot of foaming cleansers that are very gentle and emollient. They're emollient based. They're actually geared or created for sensitive skin. So as long as you read the labels and see what's there, like a lot of hyaluronic acid active ingredients are in cleansers now. Neutrogena makes one, for instance, and they're very moisturizing. So even though it foams, it may leave a certain level of moisturization even after rinsing behind.
Okay.
So I'm not against foaming cleansers. I just think it depends on what foaming cleanser you're using. Okay.
And the temperature of the water is important.
Oh, absolutely. That's very, very important.
So in terms of application, you mentioned applying moisturizer after you cleanse and before your acne products if you're very dry.
Mhm.
See, I always thought you should apply your acne product right away first. So is there a particular order that you recommend?
Well, so my number one thing is, I don't care in what order you do it as long as you do it.
Yeah.
Because what happens is if you're not doing it, it's not getting on your face and it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So as long as you're consistent, I think that's the most important part. But like
Okay.
I said, if you feel like your skin is tight after you cleanse your face, like maybe, for instance, you have dry skin baseline, or you have sensitive skin baseline, or you overprocessed your skin in the interim, then moisturize first. And I'm not talking gobbing it on. I just mean put a light layer, maybe a pearl-sized amount on your face, and then layer your other products on top. And there is a slight dilutional effect for your prescription products, but it'll still get down in there. Most of the products are very able to get into the pores in the skin. So I wouldn't worry about that too much as long as you're using your products on a regular basis and consistently.
Okay. So we've talked about benzoyl peroxide and salicylic acid. What about adapalene?
So adapalene, it's been great because in the last year it went over the counter, although it's a very low strength. But adapalene used to be the name brand different, and now it's marketed again as different over the counter, and it's a very low percentage. Adapalene is a retinoid, so it's a synthetic vitamin A, and the synthetic vitamin A's are amazing molecules. It was originally formulated for acne. There's another version of it that was originally formulated for psoriasis, tazarotene. So there are mainly three categories. We talk about adapalene, we talk about tretinoin or retinoic acid, and we also talk about tazarotene. Now there are a few new ones out of the market, synthetic retinoids that have just been launched in the last 6 months. I can't comment on it too much because I haven't had the opportunity to use it in many people. I mean, I've used it about a handful, 5 to 10 people, but not enough to say whether they're better or easier or less drying. I can't comment on that, but they are very effective. And retinoids are nice because they are a preventative maintenance medication. They decrease sebaceous gland size, the oil gland size. They also decrease production. They increase cell turnover. So it's exfoliative somewhat, and it's anti-inflammatory. So all told, the other thing it does seem to normalize collagen production. So we use it in scarring as well. So in acne patients, I often use retinoids, especially if they have secondary scarring that's prominent, because retinoids will help prevent the acne while helping the scarring as well. So it's a dual action medication for that particular patient. It also has a nice side benefit of being anti-aging. So it generates normal collagen, and in aging, that collagen degenerates as time goes on, and then the sun damages you, and the collagen degenerates that way too. So you get the sagging and banging and the wrinkles, and retinoids are very, very helpful to reverse that.
Okay. So if somebody comes to you with breakouts and it's more than what a spot treatment would help, do you start them on salicylic acid or benzoyl peroxide, or what are the factors that play into whether you recommend a retinoid versus something over the counter?
So there are a few prescription products that are a combination benzoyl peroxide and retinoid, and others that are not. I don't recommend salicylic acid too much, except for an oily patient. I think when patients come to me, they've already tried everything over the counter. They've done the Proactives and all the Clean and Clear, or whatever the other brands there are. And when they come to a dermatologist, often they're very frustrated because their acne hasn't responded as well as they want to. So I don't usually do the salicylic acid because unless they're oily. And then I'll add actually something like a salicylic acid, glycolic acid serum or a pad or something that will help get their oil down and decrease their sebaceous gland activity. But usually I start with an anti-inflammatory gel or cream, and then I also start a retinoid. And that's basically what I do. Now, if I see a young female who has really sort of a cystic distribution, sort of around the beard area and then around the mouth, I will try to go the hormonal route so that we can get some help that way. Because often these women are frustrated too, and they need some hormonal alteration to help their acne.
Okay, so do you mean like birth control pills? Like, is there, because I know there were pills on the market that help specifically with acne. Is that still the case?
Right. So a lot of young women come in already on the birth control pill, or they're on the Mirena. Not that I don't think the Mirena is a great form of birth control. I'm all for it, but it is a hormonally impregnated IUD. So we're seeing a lot of progesterone-induced acne. So with hormones, you have to have a balance for women of estrogen and progesterone, and it has to be a fine balance. And certain progesterones are actually very androgenic, meaning they have testosterone activity, and testosterone is the main hormone that actually flares or causes acne. So we want to avoid certain types of birth control pills, and there are several like Yaz, who is, that are approved specifically for acne. Now, is it a miracle? No. Birth control pills are not a miracle. Nothing's a miracle. Acne is very challenging, especially for women. So I will try that, and I'll also try this medication called spironolactone. So it's gotten a lot of press lately. It's actually been around since the 1960s. It's been around for a long time. And it was originally produced for a diuretic and antihypertensive effect. It lowers your blood pressure. But it also had a nice little side effect of blocking testosterone at the sebaceous gland, the receptors. We're not quite sure how it works, but that's how it works. It may bind to the testosterone receptor at the sebaceous gland level, and that's how it blocks the effect of testosterone on the oil glands. So I do use that quite a bit in my women, my female patients, and it works quite well. I usually start low at 25 to 50 milligrams, and then I'll inch up. Side effects, not a lot for women, not to be used in men, because the side effect for men is they grow breasts. That's not a good side effect for most men. So for the hypertension effect, it was abandoned a long time ago for hypertension control for men especially, because, the boob thing was not a good thing for men. Anyway, so we use it quite a bit for women. It's been around for a long time, has a great safety profile. It can increase your potassium in your bloodstream, but I usually just tell patients to avoid potassium-laden foods like bananas, mangoes, things like that, or not avoid, but maybe eat them infrequently. And it usually isn't a problem. Sometimes I'll check a spot potassium at the beginning of therapy for these patients, and then I'll recheck them after a few months, and then they usually are stable. Side effects, some people get headaches, some people feel a little lightheaded because it is a diuretic, and if you are prone to low blood pressure, it can lower your blood pressure a little bit, but not very much. It doesn't seem to have a very big impact at such low doses, but it does control acne well.
So how long after you start taking this medication do you see a change in your skin?
So the bad thing about a lot of anti-acne medications is you have to be patient. Most medications will not have its full effect until 12 to 16 weeks later. That's a long time, I know, to wait. But if you have patience and persistence and compliance with the patient, then you will really see results. And that's why I like to see my patients monthly in the beginning. Not so much that I think that it's not going to work for the patient, but it's really for hand holding and sort of being a cheerleader for my patients. That's a relationship is very important. To say, hey, you're doing a great job. Keep on going. We're doing it. We're doing it. Don't worry. We're on the right track. Sometimes I do have to tweak the regimen a little bit because as the skin gets better, I do have certain clinical expectations or milestones that I expect the patient to have reached by then. And if they haven't, then I will tweak it, and I'll tweak the regimen. I might up the retinoid concentration. I might switch out a medication. I might increase the spironolactone medication strength if needed.
Okay. Yeah, I find that, acne patients, from what I've learned in interviewing, is they really need they need that encouragement because it is a long journey. And I find that, for stories and for research, I've done kind of these deep dives into like Reddit and other like bloggers, communities, and people love posting their before and afters. They like getting cheered on that their regimen is working and they're doing a good job. And so you do need that from your doctor as well.
I think that's very important. I think that mutual respect and encouragement from the dermatologist is really, really important. And I think, you know, a dermatologist can also offer other adjunct treatments like some peels or microdermabrasion or light treatment. We didn't even touch on that yet, like blue light.
Yeah.
And those things can actually accelerate the improvement, especially during the first few months of treatment. And that's very gratifying because the patient really feels like their skin is improving at a faster pace than expected.
So that was actually my next question, was about the blue light. So obviously you have great in-office modalities, which is another reason to see a dermatologist. But what about the at-home versions, like the Neutrogena one, those little light devices, or some of them are actually larger that you can do like a whole cheek at one time? Do those work?
They do work. So blue light is interesting. Blue light is in the I can't remember quite, I think it's in the 400 nanometer range. It's a very narrow spectrum. And it's not damaging to the skin. We know that. You know, blue light can affect other things, such as your eyesight, and it can cause pigmentation in people who are prone to melasma and things like that. But in general, it works quite well. And it works because it kills the bacteria on contact. So when you do these blue lights, even if it's over the counter, then you can kill the bacteria. And it's a nice adjunct because it will accelerate the acne to clear than not using it at all. However, an in-office light treatment, we have the light stim in our office, and it works quite well in that way too, but it is more potent. It is an all-over complete face treatment, so you get it all done at once, and it's not that expensive, and I do recommend it quite a bit. Now, in my nodulocystic acne patients, the ones that are possibly candidates for Accutane, I do not use it at the beginning of treatment because in some studies it's shown that it actually makes it worse. And it may be because the bacteria are so deep down causing the nodules and cysts that inflammation gets deep, and then the bacteria don't really have it, and the inflammation has nowhere to go, and it may make the nodules worse. So in the beginning, for mild to moderate acne, I do use it quite a bit. Okay. It is an out-of-pocket expense, unfortunately, and sometimes we can use it and sometimes we can't. Depends on the patient's budget.
Okay. So if you were going to use one of those little handheld at-home versions, would you apply the blue light to your skin and then put on your acne medication after?
Sure, you can do that. Okay. You should probably do the blue light on clean skin because with all the makeup and sunscreens, and they are a barrier to the light. So it's like a little layer of a blocking layer. So you should have clean skin, but then you can apply your skincare right after. Absolutely. Okay.
And what about ingredients that people with acne should steer clear of? Is there anything?
Oh gosh.
I know the oil conversation is a really big one, but anything?
Well, dietary is number one. So some people are very prone to whey protein and others are not. So whey protein, the protein extracted from milk products or dairy products, can be very inciting for acne. And especially in young men, you'll see more of a truncal acne on the back and the upper chest and shoulders. A lot of the women probably see these young men who are buff in the workout gyms. And my husband always comments, these young guys, they have terrible acne on their backs. And I'm like, oh, they're probably on whey protein. But other people are not prone to they're not susceptible to the whey protein. So it just depends on the person. But 9 times out of 10, if you have a young man or a young woman with more predominantly truncal acne, I will ask that question. Are you on any supplements with whey protein? And it works the same way, whatever that is building the androgenic effect. It's really the insulin-like growth factor that it stimulates. Mm-hmm. It's androgenic, and so it causes breakouts, cystic breakouts. It makes the oil glands overactive. And people are prone to whey protein. So I like to avoid that. So number 2, we are seeing a strange type of, we thought it was an acne presentation, but it's more a folliculitis, where olive oil, coconut oil, all the edible oils are being applied to the skin more and more as a quote-unquote natural way to go. Remember, natural doesn't mean better. Natural, poison ivy too. Poison ivy's natural. Poison mushrooms are natural too. So we don't want to be applying that all over our faces. So whatever that, I always recommend my patients to avoid the oils on acne-prone skin that are edible. because the yeast and the little mites like those oils. They start to chomp on that, and they grow a little bit overzealously, and you're actually feeding the microbes in your skin. So I like to avoid that. Plus, oils do clog pores. We do know that. So non-comedogenic means non-clogging.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes a moisturizer or a skincare product may have a little oil, but not a lot of oil. So when you put oil in its purest form on the skin, then you could, it could result in clogged pores and acne.
Okay. And then what about skim milk? I mean, yeah, skim milk.
Skim milk?
Yeah, like the dairy conversation, because you mentioned whey protein, but isn't that a big contributor to acne too?
Yes. So, the pendulum is always swinging medicine right and then left. And then when I was a child, everyone thought it was the oils and food, like potato chips and French fries. And moms would say, don't eat so many French fries. Well, we know that fat's bad for you in your diet, but it doesn't seem to have a huge impact on skin. In fact, you need a little fat to have healthy skin, or actually a healthy brain as well. So, but absolutely, milk products, dairy products do have an impact in it. It seems to flare the cascade of the inflammatory process. And whey protein is a milk product, of course. Mm-hmm. And as a result, acne can flare from milk. Now, not everyone is susceptible to milk. So if you're a huge milk drinker, I would probably opt for something that's more whole. So anything that comes out of the cow more whole and directly rather than being over processed is probably better for your body, as everything else is. We don't want to process it. And any skim milk with unrefined, the refined lactose just goes directly into your bloodstream and may cause inflammation. So we're not quite sure what the mechanism is, but we do know that milk products or dairy products can affect acne and make it worse.
Okay. And then also, you talked about a little bit of acne on the back. Could that also be from your hair products? Like, if you see women coming in with random breakouts on their back, could that also be from shampoo, conditioner, things like that in the hair?
It can. I usually see it at the hairline, the sideburns and the hairline for hair products. The back for women, I think it's those sports bras. Those, what are those ones that, the bra is like, the cutouts are on the side. Yeah. So those are the ones, because you'll see that the concentration of acne is right under that bra area. And a lot of women, I hate to say it, do not shower after they work out. They let that bra sit on their back. The oils, the dirt, the sweat just sit there and sort of, stew under the bra. So I do see that quite a bit. So that's something you might want to vary your bra style, have some that are straps on each shoulder and then some that are more in the middle. And maybe dry yourself off or wipe yourself down and change your bra after you work out. That's really important, especially if you're doing really sweaty stuff like yoga or, Pilates or something like that.
So what about ingredients in skincare products that acne sufferers shouldn't use?
We talked about the stripping ones.
Yeah.
If you overstrip, you can actually cause more damage than good. Acne is so multifactorial and very, very difficult to decipher all the factors that influence it, that just stripping the skin of oil isn't necessarily the best thing to do. Yeah. I don't like scrubs too much. I hate the ones with the ground up apricot pits in them. They've been around since I was 5 years old. So, we got to move on, girls. We have to move on. So I don't like those. Now, I don't mind like sugar scrubs that dissolve as you exfoliate your skin and apply water. They're a little bit more gentle. But remember, acne skin is sensitive skin necessarily. Just because it's oily doesn't mean it's not sensitive. So you just have to treat your skin well and gently. Any kind of external physical exfoliation, like with scrubs or buffs or brushes, probably isn't a good thing. Leave that to your esthetician or to your dermatologist to help you with that.
Okay. And is there anything else that I missed that you would like to share, or are there any product recommendations that you love specifically? Any drugstore brands that people could easily get?
Well, I think, like we said, that adapalene went over the counter. I don't think it's a bad thing. Now, it's not approved for pregnant women, but I think that's a nice place to start if you don't have access to a dermatologist, or you're afraid to see a dermatologist, and we're not very scary. So we're one of the most relaxed and happiest doctors out there. I can attest to that. All my dermatology friends are very happy to be dermatologists. Yeah. Don't be afraid to try those kind of things. I do think people tend to be way too overzealous with their products. They always think more is better, and more is not better. Actually, a little bit of product with any active ingredients should be enough. Always go very slow and go minimally if possible. And cleansing is really important. I think a lot of people don't cleanse their face. Now, we're sort of split among dermatologists whether you have to cleanse or not. But I think acne patients should cleanse, because that cleansing will give you a fresh layer to apply your medications to, and you're not clogging your pores. So that's important too. But there's really nothing to avoid. I mean, I would avoid the oils that we talked about. I would avoid some of the aggressive exfoliators, the scrubs. And I would avoid anything that's for oily skin, unless you're really, really oily. Now, if you're dripping oil after 1 minute of cleansing your face, then of course, yeah, you should try an anti-oil type of cleanser. But if you're not that kind of person and you're more of a combination skin type or a dry skin type, then you could just go with a good gentle cleanser, whether it foams or not, and do well. I just use my fingertips for my own face. I have always, and I never had a problem with acne personally until I hit menopause, and I actually started to break out quite a bit. And that's what older women do experience. They start to get cystic acne when they've never had it before. And that's because the estrogens and progesterones are falling and their testosterones become predominant. So that's what's happening. That's why we lose hair up here, and we start to make mustaches and beards, and we get acne. It's just a great triple whammy when you hit menopause. But that's, so I started actually a retinoid myself, and I'm actually on 3 anti-acne ingredients.
Wow. So would you say that retinoids are the most commonly prescribed treatment for menopausal acne?
Well, it's probably the most efficacious one for all types of acne.
Okay.
If you poll dermatologists across the board, we would all pick retinoid as a #1 topical medication to try. You know, isotretinoin or Accutane is a retinoid as well. You know, it's just an oral form. So it's very, very effective. And it has a very good effect on skin in general. It reverses sun damage or photo damage. It prevents wrinkling. It also helps scarring. It shuts down your oil glands somewhat. And it also gives you a nice exfoliative effect where it brings healthy skin layers to the top. So since it's such a great multitasker, why wouldn't anyone, even if you had acne or not, be on a retinoid? I recommend that to all my anti-aging patients too.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I feel like we didn't even get into Accutane.
No, we didn't.
We're going to get cut off here in a few minutes, but you know, there's so much to talk about with acne, and I just appreciate your time, and you know, thank you so much. And for everybody who is tuning in, this is our spring issue of New Beauty. If you'd like a copy and you can't make it to a store, just shoot us a DM and we will send you a complimentary digital version. And Dr. Honet, you are wonderful.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, and good luck getting back into the groove with patients. I hope everything goes well for you.
We all need luck.
We do. This is a tough time, but
it's a tough time.
You know, we'll make it through, and you know, we're just lucky to have partners like you for all this great information. So thanks again.
Well, it's my pleasure, Britt, and you know, stay safe, everyone. Stay healthy. Remember to wear your masks. Whatever you're hearing from the public and the media, they do help. So please wear them. Protect your family, protect yourself, and protect the rest of the world. That's really important. Stay healthy. Thank you.